Hello and welcome back to another video where today I am going to be reviewing The Great Hunt by Robert Jordon, which is the second book in the massive Wheel of Time series. Now, I actually have already done a review for The Eye of the World, which is the first book, and this review probably won't be nearly as long. Mainly that is because of the fact that the first review set up what the world was about, what the series is, and just gave a bit of background information. Where for this one, we're just going to jump right into it. So let's go! So this book picks up exactly where the first book ended. All the main characters are now in Faldara, and they're kind of just hanging out. Pretty much the Amelin Seat, who is the boss of the Aes Sedai, the all-female wizard type people, comes, and Rand, who can channel magic, he can use the One Power, and when a man uses the One Power, because the male side of the source has been tarnished, they go mad. And so he's worried that he's going to be gentled, which is basically worse than death, and so he decides he wants to leave. He can't leave, and there's an attack, and lots of crazy stuff happens, and the Horn of Valir gets stolen. Now that's pretty much where this book begins. The Horn has been stolen, and the party splits off. Rand, Mat, and Perrin, Lord Ingtar, and a sniffer called Hurin go after the Horn, while Moraine, Lan, Egwene, Nynaeve, they go off to the White Tower to Tar Valon to start training as Aes Sedai. So that's just the general synopsis. The rest of this review will be more my in-depth thoughts, and then we'll get into some spoilers. Pretty much, what I thought about this book is that it's a really good successor to The Eye of the World. It expands the world a lot. It expands every single character, and some of the characters go on massive character arcs that really pushes them to a different place than when they started the book, and I did thoroughly enjoy it. Although until the last 100 pages or so, I did feel that the book was actually pretty slow. I felt like, okay, you're going after the Horn, or you're doing this and you're doing that, but I didn't love it as much as I thought I would have. It was probably sitting at around a 6 or a 7. It was an enjoyable read, but I felt like it was leading up to something, and it just took a while to get there. And it was. The climax of this book is incredible, and it's some of the best fantasy I've read in a long time, and it boosts it up to an 8. Absolutely it does. Especially because I think it works so well because of all the building up that you've gotten throughout. Alright, so those are my thoughts. Go to the end of my video if you want to just hear my closing thoughts. Now we're going to get into spoilers and talk about each of the characters separately and their growth throughout the book, because that is what I want to talk about. Click on this timestamp right here. There we go, if you want to just rush to the end. So let's talk about Rand al'Thor. He doesn't do a whole lot in this book in terms of growth. Most of this book is understandably, if you've been told that you're going to be the chosen one and you have to do all this crazy stuff, he is just going, no, I'm not the Dragon Reborn, I will not let you control me, and he's just really bitter about that, and he's just complaining, and he doesn't like Aes Sedai, and it's a whole thing. So that made him kind of annoying to read, but I did get it, and him finally accepting who he is at the end of the book was inevitable, but just a fantastic moment. Him fighting Balzaman at the end in the clouds above Falmer. Man, that was just an incredible moment. And I do really like that Rand is trying his best throughout this book. He doesn't want to be the Dragon Reborn, but he needs to help Mat. He's got to help find that dagger. He needs to find the Horn, and he needs to find Fane. So those are his three, and he needs to save Emond's Field, and he thinks he can do that by finding Fane. And those things drove him, and they made him quite an interesting protagonist to look at. Although this book, Rand wasn't as central, I feel, compared to the first book, because there's lots of other characters that get POVs. Speaking of POVs, let's talk about the other character who gets the most amount of them, I think, which is Egwene. I was really happy when I heard that Egwene got lots of chapters in this book, because she was one of my favourite characters of the first book, and I felt like she could give us a lot of different perspective than what Rand was giving us. And I was completely right. Egwene is amazing in this book, and apart from some few niggles I have with the fact that I have with her and Elaine. Okay, I do have to say, this is probably my biggest complaint with the book. It's not a massive thing. Apart from the pacing, which I talked about before, my biggest complaint with this book is that Elaine and Egwene, wow, Jordan, did you have to pick those names? They sound almost the same. They, a lot of the time, are just thinking about Rand. I get it, you know, they're in their late teens, early 20s, Rand's an impressive guy, he's Targaryen, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, every single moment, also Min as well, which annoyed me, was that they kept on thinking, oh, Rand should be here. We should talk about Rand. Rand. And I was like, oh my goodness, girl, think of something else. I get it, he's a cool guy, but come on. And that's probably why I really liked Nynaeve in this book, because she was much more realistic. She loves Lan. Lan rejects her at the beginning of the book. So she's just done with men, and for the rest of the book she just focused on the task and on her training or not, and also looking after the girls. Which that's probably why I thought Nynaeve was great. But apart from that, I did really like Egwene. I felt that her growth throughout the book, while I did wish we had more chapters within Tar Valon, seeing how they grow, you know, Harry Potter style. I did really like the chapters we did get, and I really hope to see more of her and Elaine and Nynaeve in Tar Valon in the next book training, because I'm assuming they're still going to train. Although by the end of this book, now let's skip forward a bit, Egwene gets absolutely destroyed. She gets tortured, and it is horrific, and it was definitely the worst part of the book in terms of to read. I was cringing. I was like, no, it was not okay at all. I hated reading those chapters because of how much anguish they made me feel, which props to Jordan. He did a great job at that. But the thing about that is they have made, understandably, Egwene is now really angry at her captors, and they've seen, and that experience has definitely instilled in her a hatred now that I didn't see before, and that's going to be really interesting. She's also much stronger. They trained her and unleashed her magic in such a way that we knew she was powerful before, but they've done things that I reckon the Aes Sedai would never do to Egwene. I mean, the Aes Sedai are questionable, but they're not evil. And pretty much, Egwene now can do some insanely powerful things. Towards the end of the book, she rips open the earth and destroys all these soldiers. Like, it's crazy. But I did really enjoy her chapters, and apart from her going, Rand, I really enjoyed reading about her. Now let's talk about Loial and Hurin, which are the Sniffer and the Ogier. They're great. They're companions to Rand, they had their little moments, they helped Rand out. Hurin was actually a surprisingly endearing character that I grew to love throughout it, and the way he treated Rand like a lord was very important for Rand accepting who he has to be. And Hurin just, he had a Samwise Gamgee kind of loyalty to him, that he was his own person, but the way he wanted to help Rand, I just enjoyed reading that. But I did really enjoy reading about Hurin. And Loial as well. Loial is so sweet, and he doesn't do a lot in this book, and he's not in the final battle, which is so sad. But he's not really a fighter, is he? But what he does do is quite, I mean, like Hurin, is quite endearing. I do really like his chapters. His relationship with Rand is quite sweet. How he keeps saying, "Are you my friend?" And Rand says, "Yeah, I'm your friend, mate." It was really sweet. So I was editing this video, and then I realized that, oh, the audio isn't synced up right. So I've lost the next 10 minutes of the video, which to be honest was actually longer than it needed to be. So let's try and condense this down into a smaller little bit, and but hopefully try and get all the ideas that I wanted to get across earlier. The only difference this time, really, apart from the bit obviously a bit more succinct, is that got a cat now. Got a cat. Hello. So I believe we were talking about Loyal. So basically what I was saying when the audio decided to be not nice is that I really did enjoy Loyal, and when we went to the Ogier setting, I love learning about the Ogier, and also that Loyal pretty much, and his mum can just pick a wife out for him immediately and he'll have to leave the journey, which was kind of hilarious, but I did really enjoy Loyal. The next part that I talked about was Matt and Perrin. Now, Matt didn't get a lot in this book. I did love that he was the one who blew the horn at the end of the book. That's an incredible twist right there. The fact that it isn't Rand, the fact that Bylsman thinks that it's Rand, but no, it's Matt. I'm sure that's going to have lots of repercussions in the future, and I just love that Matt got to do something, because for the majority of the book, he was just being quite arrogant and rude, and I was like, come on, mate, come on. You saying that Rand is the one who's different? No, you're the one who's different. Get yourself off the floor, pick yourself up. I know your friend's gonna go crazy and kill himself, but that's not his fault, so help him out. And Matt, he's kind of annoying, and I can't see yet why the fan base loves him so much, but we'll see. He's probably gonna become much better in future books. And I really did like Perrin. In this book, like Matt, Perrin didn't get tons of development, but what he did get, I loved. I love that we're learning more about his wolf abilities, that he's really unsure about that he's quite nervous and more subdued than he used to be, even though he's never been quite an open fellow. I love seeing his transformation, and what he can do is really interesting, and I can't wait to see what happens more in the future, particularly with the White Cloaks thinking that he is a dark friend. We'll see where that goes. Next, let's talk about Ingtar, Lord Ingtar of Faldara. Now, I knew, because I got spoiled, sadly, that he was a dark friend. So I was expecting him to just be like, I am evil, when they get the horn. But no. Turned out, he actually was a dark friend, but he didn't want to be doing what he was doing. And in the end, he actually sacrificed himself to save Rand and the others, and that's just incredible. I wasn't expecting that, and the fact that I knew he was a dark friend, and I was expecting him to have this evil twist moment, and he did, but it was actually completely subverting my expectations that had already been spoiled, so that actually worked out quite well for me, and I did really like his character, and, you know, we didn't see a body, much like Tom, so he might come back. By the way, quick insert here, love Tom. I love that he's back. He's one of my favourite characters, and he's really powerful. The way he took down those assassins after they killed his girlfriend, like, woo, he's a tough character, and I feel really bad for him. Feel really bad for Tom, but I can't wait to see him more in the future. But Ingtar, yeah, I loved how he ended, well, we think he ended, and he was a great character that subverted my expectations that I thought had been spoiled, so that was fantastic. Now, before we get to the main last character, let's just touch on a few smaller ones, at least smaller for this book. Moraine, didn't get much of her. She was off doing her own thing with Lamb, but I love the chapter we did get with her when she was attacked by the evil Darkspawn creature, and Lamb was there, and we learned a little bit about them, and you also learn about, which I'm assuming is actually what the book New Spring is about. I also really liked the Captain Domon character. I think he's quite interesting, although I'm a bit confused to him leaving at the end of the book. Min sees him leaving, but he said he would stay for them, but he stayed longer than he needed to. I'm a bit confused about what he did at the end of the book, but I'm assuming we'll see that in the future, much like how I'm also confused about Padan Thane. Where the heck did Padan Thane go? I don't know. I don't know where Thane went, but we will have to see. But he's not there at the end of the book. Alright, now before we get to the final character, I'll just say that I did love the climax, and all the characters doing their own thing, with the Horn of Valir being blown, and the soldiers coming back, and Rand accepting that he is the Dragon Reborn. It was just an incredible ending, and Man, and Nynaeve as well. Her punishing the Sudan who hurt Egwene. Man, she's such a cool character. But the last character I want to talk about is Selene. Man, Selene. She is so evil. When she turns up and is saying to Rand, "Oh, you want power, you want to be the strongest, be with me, and we'll be strong together." And I thought to myself, this woman is bad news. And yep, because at the end of the book, we find out when Min is with Rand and Rand is unconscious, that she is Lanfear, one of the Forsaken, one of the most evil characters, and wow. Wow, she's evil. One of my main complaints with the book is that Jordon is constantly saying, Lanfear is beautiful, which did get repetitive after a while. I get it, she's beautiful, but please calm down, Jordon. But apart from that, she's a terrific character who I think is going to be a really interesting foil to Rand, and their chemistry and dynamic in future books I think will be really, really, really cool to see. But apart from that, those are my thoughts for The Great Hunt. Ultimately, while I thought that the majority of the book was quite slow, I thought that the book would be quicker than it was. Most of it was quite slow. I did really enjoy what we learned about the world a lot. That was terrific. And I think that it is a really good successor to the first book. I think most of my problem with it is that it's not very self-contained. It's very much a bridge book between book 1 and 3. But it does have its own little story about the Horn in there, and it is pretty good. And the last 100 pages are just on another level. And I cannot wait to read The Dragon Reborn. My name is Jasper. This has been the channel. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoyed it for more terrific content. I will be on holiday when this video comes out. I'll see what I can do to reply to comments and all sort of that stuff. But hey, I might not have Wi-Fi, or internet, or 3G, or whatever. So, let's just see. But have a fantastic day, guys, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.